Have you ever met a man whose confidence is so disproportionate to his actual knowledge that it borders on a literal superpower? I'm talking about a level of self-assurance so thick that facts simply bounce off it like bullets off of Superman's chest. Welcome back to the Audacity of Him. Today we are exploring the majestic, mysterious ecosystem of the modern tech bro. More specifically, we're looking at what happens when an unstoppable force of tech bro arrogance meets the immovable object of an actual, credentialed woman in STEM. Grab a snack, get comfortable, and let me tell you the story of my first and absolute last date with a man we will call Tyler. Let me set the stage. The year was 2 years ago. We matched on Hinge. Tyler's profile was a bingo card of red flags that I, in my infinite wisdom, chose to ignore because he had a really cute dog. He described himself as an entrepreneur, a disruptor, a crypto enthusiast. We agreed to meet at one of those dimly lit, incredibly loud artisanal cocktail bars downtown. You know the type. The menus are on clipboards, the ice cubes are perfectly clear squares the size of baseballs, and a drink costs roughly the same as a tank of premium gas. I show up and I spot him immediately. Tyler is wearing the official uniform of the overly confident man. A checkered button-down shirt, dark wash jeans, and the ultimate, a Patagonia fleece vest. Indoors. In the middle of July. We sit down, we order. Tyler immediately starts talking about his startup. Now, I listened to him speak for 20 uninterrupted minutes, and I still could not tell you what his company actually did. It was just a salad of buzzwords. He kept saying things like synergistic paradigms and blockchain integration and agile onboarding. But I was being polite. I was nodding, I was smiling, I was deploying my best active listening face. I figured, okay, he's nervous. He's puffing his chest out a bit. Let him get it out of his system. Oh, how naive I was. Eventually, mercifully, the topic shifts to movies. I casually mention that I love science fiction. Tyler's eyes light up. A dangerous, arrogant glint flashes across his pupils. He leans across the small table, rests his forearms on the wood, swirls his $18 whiskey over his giant artisan ice cube, and asks the fateful question. So, what did you think of Interstellar? Now, for those of you who don't know, Christopher Nolan's Interstellar is the holy grail for a certain demographic of men. It's a fantastic movie, but for guys like Tyler, it is essentially a substitute for a physics degree. I say, oh, I really liked it. Great visuals, really interesting concepts. Tyler smiles. It is a condescending, deeply patronizing smile. He nods slowly. Yeah, Tyler says. Most people just watch it for the visuals. But Nolan really nailed the quantum fabric of space-time. It goes over a lot of people's heads. The relativistic physics involved in the wormhole sequence, it's pretty complex. He says this to me slowly, like he is explaining a magic trick to a golden retriever. He continues, You see, time is relative. Gravity bends time. So when they go down to that water planet, 1 hour there is 7 years on Earth. It's called time dilation. It's Einstein's theory. I can draw it out for you if that helps. This is the moment. This is the moment where I should mention a tiny, insignificant detail about myself that had not yet come up in conversation. Up until this point, Tyler hadn't actually asked me what I do for a living. He had been so busy explaining his blockchain Synergy cloud platform that he forgot to ask. So as Tyler reaches into his pocket for a pen to draw a space-time continuum on a cocktail napkin, I take a sip of my drink and say, Tyler, that's a great explanation, but you don't need to draw it. I'm actually an aerospace engineer. I work in orbital mechanics and spacecraft trajectory. I literally use the principles of relativity to calculate satellite orbits for my day job. Now, let's pause. If you are a normal human being with a functioning sense of shame, how do you react in this situation? Option A, you laugh, apologize for explaining her own career to her, and ask her fascinating questions about her job. Option B, you get a little embarrassed, make a self-depreciating joke, and gracefully pivot the conversation. Tyler, however, chose option C, the Audacity option. Tyler freezes for exactly 1/10 of a second. Then he recovers. He doesn't apologize. He doesn't ask me about my job. He looks me dead in the eye, takes another sip of whiskey, and says, "Oh, cool. So you know the basics then." The basics? The absolute unmitigated gall of this man. I have a master's degree from MIT. I have cried over different equations until 4 a.m. I have spent years staring at whiteboards filled with math that looks like an alien language. And Tyler, a man who sells B2B software for a living, just told me I know the basics because he watched Matthew McConaughey cry in a spacesuit. But he wasn't done. The ego protection protocol had been activated. Tyler realized he was out of his depth, so instead of swimming back to shore, he decided to strap on a cinder block and dive straight to the bottom of the ocean. Yeah, Tyler continues, entirely unbothered. I mean, textbook orbital mechanics is one thing, but when you start getting into the theoretical stuff, like the gravitational singularity of a supermassive black hole, the math changes completely. Like, you guys don't really deal with quantum tunneling at your job, right? I stare at him. Tyler, quantum tunneling is a phenomenon at the subatomic scale. It has absolutely nothing to do with the macro gravity of a black hole. He wags his finger at me. He actually wagged a finger at me. Oh, but see, that's where the establishment science is a bit behind, he says. If you read the latest subreddits on dark matter synergy, the unified field theory suggests otherwise. Dark matter synergy. He is just making up words now. He is frantically combining sci-fi terms he heard on a podcast to try and assert intellectual dominance over a woman who does calculus for fun. At this point, I'm no longer annoyed. I'm fascinated. I am observing him like a biologist observes a strange new species of beetle. I want to see how far he will take this. Please, Tyler, I say, leaning in, explain dark matter synergy to me. He takes the bait. He grabs the cocktail napkin. He grabs my pen from my purse without asking. He starts drawing what looks like a lopsided Venn diagram. Okay, so pretend this is Gargantua, he says, drawing a circle. He then grabs the toothpick from his drink, which has 2 olives on it. And this is the Endurance spacecraft. To escape the gravity well, they have to do a slingshot maneuver. A gravity assist, I correct him gently. It relies on the conservation of angular momentum. Right, whatever you want to call it in the lab, he dismisses me with a wave of his hand. So they approach the event horizon, right? They drop into the gravity well. He is physically acting this out now. He is swooping the olive toothpick through the air, making literal whoosh spaceship noises with his mouth in the middle of a crowded bar. And they use the centrifugal force to slingshot out. As he aggressively swings his hand upward to demonstrate the slingshot, the structural integrity of his wet toothpick fails. One of the olives detaches. It flies through the air like a tiny green missile. It sails over my left shoulder and lands directly, with a distinct plop, into the martini glass of a woman sitting at the table behind me. The woman turns around. She is wearing a silk blouse. She looks at her martini, which has just splashed onto her sleeve, And then she looks at Tyler, whose hand is still suspended in the air, holding a half-empty toothpick. Tyler slowly lowers his hand. The establishment science of actual Earth-based gravity had just proven him wrong in the most embarrassing way possible. He clears his throat. He doesn't look at the woman. He looks at me, tries to salvage his shattered dignity, and whispers, "Well, friction wasn't factored into the model." I flagged down the waitress. I paid for my drink, and I paid for the nice woman's ruined martini. I stood up, slung my purse over my shoulder, and looked down at Tyler, who was furiously trying to rub away the lopsided Venn diagram he had drawn on the wet napkin. "Tyler," I said, "this has been highly educational, but my establishment science job starts early tomorrow. Good luck with the crypto." I walked out of that bar feeling lighter than a satellite in low Earth orbit. The audacity of men like Tyler isn't just that they don't know things. It's that they are so deeply offended by the idea that a woman might know more than them that they will invent entirely new branches of physics right in front of you just to avoid admitting it. If you have your own Tyler story, a time a guy tried to confidently explain your own hobby, passion, or literal career to you, I want to read it. Drop it in the comments below. We're creating a support group here. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button, subscribe to the Audacity of Him, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Until next time, stay safe out there, and never let a man in a fleece vest explain gravity to you.